Hi guys, in today's video we're gonna watch this rival YouTuber called His Story. Okay, he's the boy. Okay, let's see.
The officer slid a plastic evidence bag across his desk and said, "Your daughter got caught pickpocketing 6 people outside the local 7-Eleven. Her haul covered the counter. 6 wallets, 2 phones, a cooler of raw salmon." Daisy swung and giggled like we were all having fun. "My friend taught me to do it, Daddy," I asked gently. "Which friend?" She grinned. "You haven't met him. He's shy. A boy was teaching my sweet daughter how to steal. I was going to find out who. As soon as we got home, I called her teacher, asking if she'd noticed any strange behavior at school. She laughed. "Absolutely not. Your daughter is an angel. She sits in the staff room with the other teachers during lunch." I clenched my fists because I wasn't going to stop until I found out who it was. That night, while she watched Bluey, I went through her room and found dirt marks by her windowsill. My heart was pounding, and when I pulled back the curtain, there were huge paw prints and claw marks everywhere. Was someone forcing her to sneak in a pet? When she went to sleep, I waited outside her room to see what was going on, and at 1 a.m., she tiptoed towards her door and slowly creaked it open. I hid behind a coat tree and watched her sneak into the yard, so I grabbed a flashlight and followed. She cut straight to the 7-Eleven, and a shape rose from the dark by the back door. I put my hand on my pepper spray, getting ready to attack the man hurting my daughter, until it stepped into the streetlight, an 8-foot grizzly bear. My mouth opened in shock. The bad influence corrupting my daughter was a grizzly bear. Before I could move, Daisy ran straight at it and hugged its leg. The bear shoved open the door of the 7-Eleven, and Daisy strolled in behind him, and the cashier immediately put his hands in the air. "Not again! Take anything you want!" The bear cornered him, and Daisy giggled as she grabbed honey, salmon, and Twizzlers. When they walked out, they split the hall and high-fived each other. She waved me out of the bushes. "Dad, this is Steve. He's my best friend." Steve sized me up and nudged a salmon at my feet. I took the fish. The officer I just entered the bathroom of my girlfriend's house when I sneezed so hard that the zipper on my dress pants tore clean off. I went pale and tried to put it back, but they fell right down to my toes. I had worn these pants to impress my grandfather, who was waiting for me downstairs. She'd warned me he had never approved of a single boyfriend she brought home, but their 2 cats had been circling my ankles all night, and I was allergic to both, which is why I'd escaped to the bathroom. I heard my girlfriend's mother calling, "Dinner's on the table." I had to fix this quickly before my girlfriend's family saw me. I yanked my shirt loose and tucked it down deep, but it rode right back up and left me hanging out. So I dug a pin from my pocket and bent it across the fly to pin it shut. It held one breath before it snapped and pinged into the sink. A knock rattled the door, and my girlfriend's voice came through. "Babe, everyone's waiting on you." I couldn't get the words out, so I fell in behind her and speed walked to my chair, dropping in. Under the tablecloth, I shoved my hand in my pocket and pinched the waistband shut. Then one of the cats curled around my ankle under the table, and my nose burn. Grandpa watched me over his wine like he was deciding, one thumb hooked behind a belt buckle the size of a saucer. But Grandma leaned in and slid a dish of potatoes across to me. "Be a dear and pass these down." It took both hands, so I let go, passed it, and slapped my hand back under. My waistband slipped an inch, but I caught it, my heart slamming. My shirt was soaked through when she pushed back her chair and beamed at me. "Come help me carry the roast, sweetheart. A big, strong boy like you needs the workout." I walked to the kitchen and got both hands under a roasting pan the size of a car tire. 3 steps back into the dining room, that same cat crossed right in front of me, and I sneezed so hard the waistband ripped out of my grip. My pants dropped straight to my ankles. There I stood in my tung sahur boxers, holding the roast. Nobody made a sound. Grandpa set his wine down, pushed back his chair, and stood up. He reached down and unbuckled that saucer-sized belt. I closed my eyes and waited to get whooped, but then he spoke. "Here, take mine. I tore my pants on my first visit to my girlfriend's too. Welcome to the family, son." I set the roast down and buckled his belt around my ruined pants, while the whole table came apart laughing, and for once, I laughed along with them. I just entered the bathroom of my girlfriend's house when I sneezed. My boss
Miller's just discovered this.
I just entered the bathroom of my girlfriend's house when I sneezed so hard my boss tried to fire my coworker. The officer slid a plastic evidence bag across his desk and said, "I woke up at 4 a.m. I woke up at 4 a.m. My boss tried to fire my coworker with anger issues, and the company is still recovering from the damage. He slammed a folder onto Zach's desk, and the first line read, "Your current position has been terminated, effective immediately." Zach went red. He'd given 10 years, missed his daughter's birthdays, and worked every weekend. Our boss smiled. "So, what do you think?" But Zach just slammed the folder on the desk so hard his coffee spilled across the boss's jacket. "I think screw you." He kicked his chair over. The whole office stopped typing to look. "I missed my daughter's birthdays for you. My almost left me." The boss put his hands up. "Just hear me out." But Zach talked over him. "No, you hear me." Not once did anyone in this building recognize what I beep. Cut off by the photocopier. He looked over at it, and just Zach completely lost it. He shoved the photocopier off the table, smashing on the floor. Paper went everywhere. Our boss tried again. "Are you sure you read the whole?" Zach got right in the boss's face. "Don't talk to me like I'm stupid. You're a snake." He grabbed his nameplate off the desk and threw it in the boss's face. "I gave you everything, and you gave me nothing." Then he stuck his middle finger in his face and waved it. He turned to the rest of us. "If any of you have a brain and don't want to be treated like this, you'll follow me out." He started packing his things, but the office was dead silent. Our boss stood there completely calm, pointing to the folder on the floor. "Zach, flip the page." Zach looked down, red in the face. He picked it up and flipped. "And because your old position is terminated, we are promoting you to Senior Vice President of Operations. You will be relocating to a different branch to allow more time for your daughter." The number beside it was triple what Zach was making. He looked up at the boss, surrounded by spilled coffee, a smashed keyboard, a broken photocopier, and the bruise on his face. "Does the offer still stand?" Boss tried to fire my coworker with anger issues, and the company is still recovering. I woke up at 4 a.m. to screaming from my son's room, but when I walked inside, I instantly started coughing. My 15-year-old Jacob was smoking cigarettes and loudly gaming with his buddies. I didn't even know he smoked, so I crossed the room with my breath held and unplugged his PlayStation. "You're going to bed. We'll talk about the smoking tomorrow." But he turned to me with these manic eyes and screamed, "Give me back my PlayStation." He put his cigarette out on my arm, and I immediately backed up as it burned. "Okay, we're seriously having a talk." I walked out of his room and locked him in for the night while he screamed, "You'll regret this." Next morning, I was waiting downstairs to talk, but Jacob stormed down with a stack of papers and dropped them on the table. "I'm suing you. I want emancipation and $5,000 in legal damages." My stomach twisted as I picked up the papers, and when I looked up, he was lighting a cigarette. "That's right. I don't want you to be my dad anymore." He blew the smoke at my face and walked out. That evening, Jacob yelled at me from his room, "Dad, I need $200 to hire a lawyer for the court." I laughed because I still didn't think he was serious. But that night, I woke up to something rustling in my room. My eyes shot open, and I saw Jacob going through my wallet. My heart shattered seeing my own son stealing from me, but I just pretended to be asleep, then slid my phone over. And pressed record. He tiptoed out with all $300 from my wallet, but I had the evidence. 2 weeks later, I stood in court as Jacob Fake cried on the stand that I'm abusive and he's scared of me. I don't want him to be my dad, and I want $5,000 for emotional damages. He pointed at me like I was an animal. My hands shook, and I pulled out the video of him stealing my money, but he began screaming before the judge could even look at it. "See? He records me without my consent. That's the abuse I'm talking about." My stomach sank as the judge looked at Jacob. "You believe you can care for yourself?" Jacob smirked. "Better than that faker ever could." I felt my whole body go cold because those words hurt so much, but that's when the judge smiled at me. "In that case, emancipation granted." He banged his gavel, and Jacob immediately jumped out of his seat, cheering and throwing both middle fingers in my face. But then the judge kept talking. "This means, Jacob, that from today, you pay your own rent, food, and legally follow every rule your father gives you since he's now your landlord. Your first $1,000 rent payment is due in a month." My son's arms dropped mid-celebration. "Wait, I don't have any money." But the judge shrugged. "Fail to pay, and you'll be arrested. This is what you wanted." Jacob's face went pale. "No, I don't want want to go to jail. Can I reverse the decision? The judge simply shook his head. I walked up to Jacob and put my hand on his shoulder. If I see you light just one cigarette, I'm kicking you out. I expect rent on the first. Out while he sobbed in the courtroom and lit up my own cigarette to mock him. I woke up at 4 a.m. In the 3rd grade, a girl 3 years older than me grabbed my shirt and shoved me face first into a locker. I felt my baby tooth crack, and Rebecca loudly popped her gum in my ear. Meet me behind the hill after school. I'm not letting you get away with shouting at me in the hallway. She pushed me to the ground and walked back to her bully friend group. I clutched my cheek shaking, because my elementary school was run by 10 girls, all 6th grade bullies. And when you're a 9-year-old boy, that is an Avengers-level threat. I thought back to Rebecca breaking my arm and gulped because I knew I was screwed. But when I saw them during break, taking my classmates' glasses and stomping on them, I got an idea. I waited until they walked away and came up to him while he cried on the floor. I whispered the plan in his ear, and his eyes immediately lit up. We followed them for the entire break, talking to every kid they bullied. When the final bell rang, my heart pounded, and Rebecca locked eyes with me and cracked her knuckles. See you behind the hill. I walked out, my legs shaking. But instead of going up to them, I climbed to the top of the hill. Rebecca's eyes widened as she yelled, "Are you ignoring us? We're breaking both your legs for this." The 10 of them started walking up the hill, their faces twisted and fists clenched, and that's when I made my move. Troops, in positions. Instantly, all 50 boys from my grade came out, standing atop the hill, including the kid with the broken glasses. Our army stared at the 10 girls. Their smiles dropped, but their eyes widened in rage. "We're still gonna beat you up." But then I pointed and yelled, "Charge!" All 50 of us began sprinting downhill. The girls' faces went pale in fear as they realized 50 mini bowling balls were rushing at them. "We're sorry," Rebecca yelled and turned to run, but it was too late. We began crashing into them, knocking them to the floor and stampeding them. I stepped on Rebecca's hair and plowed into the others, sending them to the dirt. By the time we were at the bottom, all 10 of them were crying in the mud. Their elbows were bent wrong, their hair was ripped and covered in grass, and not a single one was moving. I planted my foot on Rebecca's back and shouted, "Victory!" In the 3rd grade, a girl 3 years older than me grabbed my shirt. The kid next to me squeezed his juice pouch out across my lap and started laughing. "I'm gonna tell everyone you peed yourself." He slipped out of his seat and drifted toward the door, the pouch still crushed in his fist, and my stomach dropped. All morning, the whole school had been losing it because my favorite footballer was minutes from walking into our room, the striker whose poster hung over my bed. If he saw me like this, I'd be the P-kid forever, in front of the one person I'd ever wanted to impress. I shot out of my chair after him, but he was already halfway down the hall, leaning into every kid he passed and jabbing a finger back at me. The whisper moved faster than my legs ever could, kid to kid, and catching him wouldn't kill it now. So I ducked into the boys' bathroom, wet a fistful of paper towels, and scrubbed at the stain. But the dark spot only spread paler and wider, soaking deeper the harder I pushed until half my thigh was soaked. A kid shoved in to use the sink and I twisted toward the wall, but he caught the soaked leg anyway and was snickering into the hall before the door swung shut. The speaker in the ceiling crackled on and the principal's voice rolled down the hall. "Everyone, please give our special guest a warm welcome." My hands started shaking against my wet leg. That's when I spotted the lost and found bin by the pair gray gym pants sitting right on top. I yanked them out and shoved my leg in, hopping on one foot as cheering erupted through the wall. I got them buttoned and shoved through the door bone dry. The footballer was up front mid-wave. Every kid twisted around toward me, and the one who set me up saw his shot. His arm shot out, finger aimed right at me, and he screamed, "Look, he peed himself." But there was nothing there, and every head in the room swung off me and onto him, the footballers with them. Right then, the pouch in that same fist gave out, and the last of it burst down the front of his own pants. Now he was the pee kid for real, and my favorite footballer was laughing harder than anyone. The kid next to me squeezed his juice pouch out across my lap and started laughing. "I'm gonna tell everyone you peed yourself." He slipped out of his seat and drifted toward the door, the pouch still crushed in his fist, and my stomach dropped.
A friend request on social media almost cost someone.
The kid next to
A friend request on social media almost cost someone thousands of dollars.
It was a scam. They pretended to be someone that this client knew online and tried to convince them.
The kid next to me squeezed his juice pouch out across my lap and started laughing. I was walking home when someone grabbed me from behind and threw a bag over my head. I screamed into the fabric, but moments later, it got ripped off and I was tied to a chair. A big bald man stood over me. "Where's my $40,000? I had no idea who he was." "You've got the wrong guy. I have 12 cents in my bank account. Let me go." His face twisted. "I remember your face from the casino. You're not leaving without giving me my money." But I remembered I had my mom's medication in my bag. I yelled, "I need to go home. My mom needs her medication. She can't even walk without her cane." But he scoffed. "I don't care about your mom. You've got until tonight to get me my money, or you're dead." I had no way to get that money. So the second he left the room, I yanked at the rope around my wrists to escape. I twisted and pulled until my turned, and one hand started slipping free. But then the door swung open, and he stared right at my wrists, his fists clenched. Trying to escape? I expected him to kill me, but instead, he said, "Your mom needs you home? As a matter of fact, I'll go get her. If I have her captive, you won't try to run again." I screamed, begging him not to as he walked out. But moments later, he came back, pulling my mom by the arm. She leaned on her cane, tiny and shaking. He laughed. She didn't even fight because she's so weak. She walked right out to my car. He pulled her closer. "You've got 1 hour, or you're both dead." Tears streamed down my face. I couldn't give him anything, and now My mom was going to die because of me. I'm so sorry, Mom. But then she grabbed her chest and collapsed to the floor. I screamed. Mom! The bald man's face went confused. Please help her, she's sick and weak. He rushed over and bent down to check on her, but then her hand tightened around her cane. 1 hour, or you're both dead. Tear on her. But then her hand tightened around her cane, and she swung it straight into the back of his head. He dropped, and she slipped the loose rope off my wrists and pulled me up. I was shaking as she dialed 911. Mom, I thought you were too weak to fight, she smiled. He bragged that I didn't fight him, but I didn't fight because I needed him to bring me to you. Then I could take him down myself. Then she whispered.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it.